Some families have special holiday meals. Some families have family game nights. Some have yearly vacations. And others forbid their daughters from marrying their true love and force them to spend all their days caring for their mothers until the day they die. Hi, I'm Lucy Nielsen and welcome to Crash Course Stapleton. In this segment, we will discuss the themes encompassed in the book Like Water for Chocolate through a psychological lens.
The human mind is comforted by the consistency and rigid structure of tradition because we, as humans, crave a sense of security and well-being. This can be shown through Like Water for Chocolate, as Tita continuously traps herself in Mama Elena's cage of demands, even when given the opportunity to be free. This cycle of tradition is seen in previous and future generations, creating continuous, unchanging patterns of obedience. Let's go into the thought bubble.
After Tita leaves the ranch to live with John, she goes through a mental struggle to return to her past self. She has so much extra time to herself and she doesn't know what to do with it. She wasn't required to do anything with her hands. She could move them however she pleased, yet she didn't know what to do with them at her mother's. What she had to do with her hands was strictly determined, no questions asked. Now she has a newfound freedom, but has no idea what to do, so she does nothing. This intense change in her life would scare anyone. It's like taking your pet dog and leaving it out in the woods. That dog doesn't know what to do in the wild. It's used to being in a house with rules, food, and belly rubs.
Later in the story, when Tita is back at the ranch and Mama Elena has already died, Tita is conflicted between her two love interests, John and Pedro. Tita is in the kitchen thinking about what to do when suddenly a napkin flew in the air and an icy shiver ran down Tita's spine. She turned around and was stunned to find herself face to face with Mama Elena, who was giving her a fierce look. Of course, Mama Elena has already been dead for quite a while, and unless she has risen from her grave, this figure is just Tita's imagination.
Throughout the novel and through these two quotes, we see examples of Tita continuously trapping herself inside the cage of demands and torturing herself by creating haunting images of Mama Elena. When Tita finally left the ranch, she was free. She was free to be whoever she wanted and do whatever she pleased. She sat motionless, however, not sure what to do with her hands. Her whole life, she had been forced to do chores and cook for the family. Although this was a burden and a pain, it created a sense of comfort and routine in her life. Even after Mama Elena's death, she conquered up images through her imagination that continued to cut off her newfound freedom.
Speaking of Mama Elena, later in the story, we discover that Mama Elena suffered a similar fate as Tita when she was denied the chance to marry her true love, and when Rosura's daughter, Esperanza, was born, she was originally tied to that same fate and tradition. The pattern is repeated throughout the generations through the story. Even though the traditions are cruel, the characters in the story stick to them because it gives them a sense of security and well-being that they crave.
This cyclical pattern of tradition is one of the many reasons why Like Water for Chocolate is an example of magical realism. The idea that history repeats itself and what happens once is destined to happen again is a characteristic of magical realism. In the story, the traditions of the De La Garza family are passed through generations and therefore show history repeating itself. Even though some of the traditions are cruel and inhumane, it still counts.
As shown throughout Like Water for Chocolate and through real-world examples, we are genuinely comforted by a sense of tradition and routine. When we happen to be placed outside our comfort zone, we freeze, unsure of what to do next. Just like Tita's motionless hands and confused self-conscience, we continue to trap ourselves inside a cage of demands and hardships, once again to get a sense of normality and routine.
Thank you for tuning into this segment of Crash Course. We hope this video helped to open your mind to new perspectives of the novel Like Water for Chocolate. Now remember, letting your mom control your life is not always best.